Podcasts are hot right now. How do I know? Well, you're listening to one right now, aren't you? But you might be wondering, how on earth do I get my voice out there and start my own podcast? It all seems so intimidating. Between hosting and platforms and monetization, it can get real complicated real quick. Well, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. We started this podcast over 2 years ago, not knowing clue one on how to do it. So how did we do it? We did it with Anchor. Anchor is the free podcast app with creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. And Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on all the platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. And everybody likes money, right? Well, you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So go right now, download the free Anchor app, or go to Anchor FM to get started. It's the eCommerce Minute, your daily dose of e-commerce, tech, and retail news with your host, John Suder, Bart, Mroz, and Brittany Blackman. The eCommerce Minute is a production of SUMO Heavy, a digital commerce consulting firm located in Brooklyn, New York, and Philadelphia. Find us on the web at sumoheavy.com.
It's eCommerce Minute episode 750.
In today's episode, Constellation Brands buys Gary Vaynerchuk's empathy wines.
Constellation Brands are one of the largest alcohol producers in the U.S. It owns several popular beer, wine, and spirits labels like Corona, Svedka, and Kim Crawford, among others, that are sold at nearly every alcohol retail store across the country. Now Constellation Brands is purchasing Empathy Wines, a direct consumer brand co-founded by media personality Gary Vaynerchuk and his business partners John Troutman and Nate Schrader. Robert Hanson, Constellation's president of Wine and Spirits Division, told Wine Spectator that Constellation was drawn to Empathy by its quality and price, but it was also interested in its consumer engagement model and direct consumer strategy. He said, quote, "It tucks quite nicely into the focus that we have on more bold, more innovative, more agile, high-end wine and spirits brand," end quote. Social media guru Vaynerchuk, who founded VaynerMedia and Wine Library TV, partnered with Troutman and Schrader, both former VaynerMedia executives, to launch Empathy in 2019. The brand works with California growers such as Scott Bilbrow of Marietta Cellars in Sonoma City and Clay Shannon of Shannon Ridge in Lake County to produce sustainably made whites and reds for $20, as well as a sparkling rosé in a can. Empathy sells its wines through its e-commerce platform and subscription service. The brand produced 15,000 cases of wine last year. While the company works with growers who use sustainable farming, the wines are not certified sustainable. 5 years ago, Constellation spent $315 million to acquire California-based Meiomi, then a brand on its way to 700,000 cases. Now the company is hoping Vaynerchuk's direct consumer brainchild will help it win on the digital shelves. The recent acquisition of comparatively tiny and relatively unknown Empathy Wines brand, which racked up $3.6 million in revenue, underscores the alcohol giant's growing interest in selling wine outside of the traditional three-tier system. Hanson said Vaynerchuk will continue to remain involved with the brand as a consultant and noted that he's been incentivized to contribute to the brand's long-term success. Another win for your boy, Gary V.
It is indeed.
He only started a year ago and he sold it? Damn.
Wow.
What am I doing wrong?
He released it a year ago.
Right.
These guys been working on it probably forever.
Right. And plus,
he's always wanted to do it.
And wait, and what is it? How did you do it so quick? It took me 30 years to do it. Right?
Yeah, people don't follow that. Like he's definitely been in this industry. Although, what's funny to me now is that there's a lot of people don't know him that he's the wine guy, right? And there's tons of people don't know him that.
Yeah, I like to say the younger kids, they don't realize that was his background. Like that's how he got his start.
I mean, younger kids, people who just do not know about him,
or just don't know enough about him. They know about him now, don't know the history of him.
Yeah, it's like the man it's all about wine.
Gary is an acquired taste. He's not everybody's cup of wine. I got a little burned out on him because I used to watch his daily V's and I just couldn't take the daily. You need to make 64 pieces of content every day and hustle and crush it. I just got a little burned out on it, but I do appreciate his hustle. And listen, this is just another example of grinding it out. Not everybody can do that. Not everybody has that potential. But man, this guy is just the last 5 years. Look at what this guy has done. So hats off to Gary Vaynerchuk.
Yeah, I mean that. And there's the past few years really. He didn't appear on a scene until he was like 30, which is awesome. It was kind of crazy all at the same time. I like him. I mean Gary a whole bunch of times. He's good people. But this is kind of cool. Like I like the brand. I like the idea of being simple. They're just not coming from one brewer. They're trying to get a wine from a whole bunch of places. They kind of follow the trend, which is awesome. Like you can subscribe to a lot of things. I mean, the other thing they're doing they sold empathy wines. I mean, his dad still has wine text, which is one of my favorite ways of getting wine. Like that is the technology around it is.
Well, talk about that. It's called wine text.
Yeah. So basically, once you sign up, you put your credit card number, stuff like that, you're done. And they have a daily deal. And 1 o'clock, they send you a deal and you literally text back of how many bottles you want. That's it.
Wow.
And it's all done. Like if you want to, I think they do free shipping on 6 or something like that.
Do they, can you subscribe like at a price point, or is it kind of just like, here, we got some stuff.
It's a daily deal. Yeah.
But I'm saying is it might be $20, but it might be also $60, correct?
Yeah, it's all over the place, but it's the best deal they make. And usually it's pretty good deals on it. I mean, there's right before holidays, we ordered, had this like insane deal on bottles of wine. They're like $20 bottles and we bought them for $5. It was insane. I think today, which is July 7th, which is actually funny that we're recording this on July 7th. Today is actually the 1-year anniversary of Wine Text.
Oh, wow.
So they're having some kind of
about that.
One.
So
I do not know what it is yet.
There is a quote. There's actually a little piece here by Gary that I'm going to read here. As a self-described wine nerd, Vaynerchuk said his love of wine and an understanding of the complexities of the business eventually led him to establish a $20 price point. Well, this was my question. Where do you get $20 from? A sweet spot that would enable Empathy Wines to trade up its earliest customers from inferior quality offerings. So this is basically educating people about wine and getting you off the cheap stuff. The thesis, most people are buying $12 to $14 wines, but getting an $8 value. Vaynerchuk, along with his business partners, wanted to work directly with farmers, cut out wholesalers and retailers, and sell consumers a $40 bottle of wine for $20. That is a great value proposition, and that's a great thing to inform customers about, because I think that people just look at a price and say, oh, because it's more expensive, it's good, and because it's cheap, it's bad. You know, that perception changed years ago when Trader Joe's had the $2 chuck or whatever it was, or now $6 chuck, whatever it is now. And people finally said, oh, you know what? An inexpensive bottle of wine can actually be pretty good. And now we're getting into this part where it's $10, $12 bottle of wines are okay, but a $20 bottle of wine, you're getting a $40 value. And I think that's a real important distinction there, especially if you're talking, you know, if you're really into wine.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with actually him, because of the shows and things he did where it was, he's like, you know, we can taste all these wines. And sometimes he had wines on that show that were like $10. They were tasting better than the $50 wine. It was always funny.
Yes. But not everyone can tell the difference between a good bottle of wine and a bad bottle of wine. I think wine tasting is something that you have to learn. You have to educate your palate. But it's almost like if you give somebody a beer and then you give someone like this really hoppy IPA and they spit it out and you're going, but that is a good IPA, man.
You're like, no, what are you doing?
That's good stuff. All right, close with a little stat time. Although direct consumer shipments, which are allowed in 46 states, currently represent less than 11% of the overall $29.8 billion with the B wine market, the channel has more than doubled in size since 2011. Bart, we're finally seeing that. They're finally letting you ship booze.
Pretty much only wine for the most part. I think they let go of that a lot. I mean, the 3-tier system is crazy.
It is. It really is.
I mean, they did institute that after Prohibition, which is nutty. Just how it works is actually so. Yeah, how it works is really crazy. I mean, I get it. I know they got to do that, but wine is one of those that has been allowed to kind of sidestep it.
Yeah, but yet they let everyone buy any kind of fireworks they want.
Can't have everything, John.
Can't have everything. All right, let's finish this up. According to alcohol beverage compliance firm Sova Ship Compliant, $3.2 billion worth of wine, 6.6 million cases was sold directly to consumers in 2019. It's a lot of wine. And finally, small wineries, those producing 5,000 and 50,000 cases annually, controlled nearly 45% of the direct consumer dollar sales in 2019. These niche brands kicking butt. Bart, you got anything else?
Nope. All good.
All right, that's your e-commerce minute for today. We'll see you on the internet tomorrow.
That's it for today's show. If you like the show, do us a favor and subscribe or leave us a review on iTunes. And don't forget, you can now listen to the e-commerce minute on your Amazon device. Just add e-commerce minute to your flash briefing. And finally, if you have a comment or suggestion or just want to say hi, find us on social media at SUMO Heavy.